whether you're planting 1 or 100 trees, a little planning goes a long way. So here are 6 core questions, core, pun intended, questions to help you ask the right questions. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you get the wrong answers, I have learned. So here they are. I'll list these core questions and then we'll dive into them one by one. Number 1, what is best for the tree? Number 2, what is best for me? Number 3, have we tested the soil? Number 4, what is our long-term maintenance plan? 5, how do I choose varieties? And 6, let's talk spacing. What is the spacing? What is the trellising? Let's talk. So from the top, what is best for the tree? So here is the thing. It's really easy to think about, oh, right out my kitchen window, this would be the loveliest place to watch the blossoms in spring and the baby birds fly off the branches and to go harvest fruit. It's really easy to center ourselves and our needs in this equation. But first and foremost, what does the tree need? If I might project and speak for the trees, a la the Lorax, here are the things that I think the trees would say. Full sun, all day, every day. Also, deer protection, whether it's a perimeter fence. Can you perhaps see the locust fence along our entire farm? If it's a perimeter deer fence, amazing, you're good to go. Otherwise, having individual cages for trees, crucial, because apples think they're delicious. So do we and the deer. And deer not only eat apples, they eat the sweet cambium in winter, the bark of the apple tree. So yes, protection from deer, porcupines, voles, moles. We'll talk more about the munchings of rodents too. But yes, protection from predation is crucial for trees. Also, having another apple around. If I have 2 gold rush apple trees, they're not going to pollinate each other. We need at least one variety, we need at least 2 trees of 2 different varieties. So if I had a gold rush and a crimson crisp, I'm good to go within a half mile. Also, if I have a crab apple tree or just a seedling apple tree somewhere in the hedgerow, that's totally valid. So yes, having another tree. Trees don't pollinate themselves, and that apple tree variety also isn't going to pollinate themselves. So if I had 10 crimson crisp, I need at least one other variety of an apple to ensure that there will be pollination. Isn't that amazing? Other things that apples need: air and water drainage. So water drainage, they just don't want to live in a swamp. So be sure that you are choosing a site that has good water drainage. Also air drainage. You don't want to plant your tree in a frost pocket. So honestly, with this air and water drainage, as much as you can take a step back and just look for a season or a year, pay attention to the patterns around you and think, where is that fog settling? Where is that frost settling? Where in a huge rain is it puddling where I might not expect? And these things are always wonderful to learn before you plant a tree rather than after. So yes, air drainage is crucial. Sometimes slopes can really be helpful, but then, it becomes a challenge if you're wheelbarrowing, compost and mulch up a steep slope. But these are all the things to be keeping in mind. There's no one right answer. Also, you want your soil to be not compacted, full of rich organic matter. We'll talk about soil testing in a few moments, but yes, having the no compaction and rich organic matter will go far. Also, protections from winter winds. So really, this isn't a huge deal unless you live in Kansas or somewhere beautiful on the Great Plains. But if you do, plenty of spaces here in Zone 5 in Western New York, Haudenosaunee, unceded lands where Fruition Seeds is now farming. If there's a wide expanse where the winter westerly winds just come pummeling in, that's not the best. So having a windbreak, whether that's a barn or a hedgerow, some kind of windbreak from westerly winds will go far. Although all the varieties of apple we're offering are hardy to Zone 4, it just makes that much more of a difference to not have exposure to those brutally cold and incredibly just gusting gales of winter winds. A final thought. Your tree, your apple tree, really wants to live in this woodsy, wild, meadowy edge ecology. So not like plowed garden style, like where is, there's a lots of fungal mycelium making sure that there are nutrients cycling rather than bacterially cycling soils. And so perennials and natives, wildflowers are fabulous. And certainly having all of those close by, nearby, if not directly in a guild, permaculture style, with your tree. So yes, the more that you can plan on having abundant perennial plants that aren't grasses immediately around your tree and close by, especially bringing lots of flowers, so bringing lots of beneficial insect nectar, food habitat. So yes, that wild woodsy meadow edge is totally the ecology that your tree is looking for. Very different than your tomatoes. So yes, that's kind of what is best for the tree. And what's best for me? I can only speak for myself. It might be relevant for you too. Close to home. Out of sight, out of mind is so real. Speaking, of course, for myself. And so I love having our fruit trees close to our homes, close to our attention. They're near and dear, so keep them near. And especially because compost, mulch, water, let's talk. There are these tree rings, right? You can see the wood chips around the base of these trees. Every year we're going to be weeding them. We're going to be composting and mulching them anew. And so as long as it's easy to, whether it's a wheelbarrow, if you're at a little larger scale with a truck, just make sure that you're keeping in mind that annual maintenance of how easy is it to bring these materials to your trees. And water is crucial, especially in establishing your tree that first year. If you are using a hose, if you are using a 5-gallon bucket, just what is your water scenario? Have this planned out before you even plant the tree, and ideally before the tree even arrives. And just finally, keep in mind that similarly to keep them close to home, your trees are your kin, your living, breathing family. And so, yes, whether it's appreciating their bright buds in spring and those baby birds learning how to fly in their branches, whether it's the fragrance of ripening fruit that you just want to be in proximity to, or, keep in mind, care goes both ways in this world. And so you're caring for this tree is also caring for you. So how can you keep these trees close by, so they can be close and take care of you too? So now let's talk about soil testing. So check out our blog about how to soil test and our separate blog about testing for orchards specifically. There's so much to say. So here, I'll just simply say, check out the blogs and keep in mind that the greatest gift, one of the greatest gifts that you can give future generations is to plant, as well as yourself, is to plant a tree or 3. And perhaps the greatest gift that you can give those trees is a soil test, so that you can be confident that as you're planting these trees, that you're sinking these roots into rich, fungally rich soil, so that they are just ready to surround your tree with everything it needs to establish quickly and surround us all with the beauty and abundance that we dream of. So yes, number 4, what is your long-term maintenance plan? So there's so much more to share. There's so much nuance. And here, I just want to give you a sense of what's to come. We'll be breaking all of these facets down into the granular details. But just for now, keep in mind that there are all of these facets that we'll be paying attention to, because no one plants a tree, walks away, and comes back a few years later to just harvest fruit. It doesn't work that way. And here are some of the things, of the joys that we get to pay attention to in the meantime. So there's mulching and weeding of your tree ring. Perhaps at the base of these trees, you can see the mulch on top with the compost beneath. So that 3-foot plus tree ring every year needs weeding, it needs mulching, it needs composting. And then beyond that, the tree itself needs pest protection in lots of different ways, whether that's scouting or addressing pests as you see them. And also spraying is part of organic orcharding too. It's not chemical sprays, even if it's kale and clay, but taking note of what these sprays are and knowing what you can get away with and what you can't in a given season will go far. We're so here for you, friends. And pruning is another whole matter. Thinning is so much fun. And then, of course, there's harvesting too. So there's all of these ways that we take care of these trees, and these trees take care of us. And number 5, how do we choose what variety of apple to plant and other kinds of nut trees, and how do we make these decisions? So certainly check out our entire blog about how to choose apple varieties, but keep in mind there's over 8,000 named varieties of apple, which is amazing. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder, deliciousness in the mouth. So don't let anyone tell you what is the best apple for deliciousness. That is up to you. So keep in mind too, disease resistance makes all the difference. So depending on your bioregion, you will have more certain kinds of diseases that, like if you're in Washington, if you're in Michigan, if you're in New Hampshire, in New York, in Georgia, you'll have vastly different diseases and other implications just by the nature of being in that place. So know your friends, know your mentors, cultivate those relationships so that you can be surrounding your trees and choosing them even before you plant them to set them up for the greatest success given where you are in the world. And then, of course, there's purpose. There are all-purpose apples that you can make sweet and hard cider out of that are delicious fresh eating, also great storage, that also make a great pie. Many apples are best at one or a couple of those things. So we plant a lot of different trees so that we have lots of different purposes and lots of different seasons, because seasonality makes a really big difference too. There's early, mid-season, and late season apples, and some store better than others. So yes, we plant lots of different apples here at Fruition so that we can have, the fullest, most delicious of spectrums, so that we can be actually harvesting fruit in August. Apples in August are amazing. And then right now we're just harvesting the last of our delicious, oh my gosh, did I have one close by? I do, a Gold Rush apple. And this is one, it's organic with this sooty blotch. Oh my gosh, so much more to say. But yes, we're just harvesting the last of our Honey Crisp. I do mean Gold Rush apples. So yes, it's a delight to have a full season of apples to harvest from, with all different flavors and all different aromas and all different purposes. So next and finally, but not least, wait. I don't think I mentioned cold hardiness in the choosing varieties. You want to make sure that you're getting cold hardy varieties if you are in cold seasons, and you want to make sure that you're getting warm season varieties if you're in a warm season. We'll talk more about chilling hours in another video, but just keep in mind that all of Fruition's varieties, because we're here in Zone 5, they're hardy to Zone 4. And so you can be really confident in Zone 4 that all of our trees are going to knock it out of the park for you in the cold hardiness department. So finally, the sixth core question is, what is the spacing and trellising requirements of the trees that we're planting? So here is where it's not only the variety, like the scion, the fruiting wood, that you're determining, that you're choosing, you're also choosing rootstock. So rootstock and check out our videos about rootstock. Make a huge difference. There's dwarfing rootstock, there is semi-dwarf, there's full-size standard apple tree rootstocks. So it's really important that you know exactly the rootstock that you're growing on, so that you know that, this is a Gold Rush apple tree on a 935 Geneva series semi-dwarf rootstock. So this tree will get 10, 12, maybe 15 feet, depends how we prune it, will be a huge determining factor. And so knowing exactly what tree, what rootstock that you're growing on will help determine the spacing, because the larger the tree will grow, the more space that it needs. So 10, 12, 15 feet between freestanding semi-dwarf trees is a really solid thing to keep in mind. You can plant them more densely. Take a look at what we have behind us here. So here at Fruition, we've planted trees that are freestanding in kind of permaculture guilds, just interspersed among lots of perennials. We also have this single 100-foot row of high density planting, which is a more modern technique, and it's kind of awesome. And the pruning is different, and it's really impressively abundant. And so literally these trees are planted 4-foot centers, even 5 feet sometimes, but they're planted really, really close together. But that's because they have staking and trellising to connect them all. We'll be sharing the details of all of these different systems. There is no one way, but just keep in mind that knowing the tree, the rootstock specifically, and whether you're planting a single standalone tree or planting a high density orchard, these are keys to help you actually ask the right questions so that you can plan out your orchard before you're there ready to plant. A final note in this spacing trellising department is this. Mowing is something you'll need to do in your orchard. And though trees don't want to have grasses immediately around the base of their trunk, you will have grass close in proximity to them. So making sure that you are, if you're mowing, if you're scything, if you're running chickens, if you're running sheep through, it's really important that you plan out, design your orchard with that mowing in mind. So yes, there are so many variables, there are so many considerations, there are so many implications in everything you do as you plan your orchard. And I hope these 6 core questions will help you determine what will be best for your trees. And as a final note, 2 final notes, keep in mind, we are not your only resource. Fruition Seeds is committed to sharing absolutely everything that we're learning with you and with us all. And there are people really close to you, closer than you might realize, that are also asking these questions and may be orcharding for the first time or for the 50th year, and would love to be in community with you and learn from your friends, from your mentors. Reach out to your local cooperative extension agency. Lean on all the resources and become a resource. As you're learning, freely share whatever you're learning with people who want to listen and be in community with you. We are all experts, which is to say, we are all at the beginning of the learning curve. We are all climbing the mountain together. So yes, go find your pod. We're so glad to be part of your pod, but we are just one small part of it. And finally, I just want to name the privilege it is to plant trees, the honor that it is. What a privilege. The vast majority of people on this planet are not able to own or lease land, much less land that is suitable for fruit trees. So yes, what a gift it is that you can plant trees, which makes it that much more imperative that you do, and that you share that joy with absolutely everyone you can in all the seasons, whether it's picnicking with friends under the blossoms in spring or harvesting and sharing the fruit. Thank you for seeding and planting and sharing the joy and abundance and curiosity and love that is the evolution and becoming of life on Earth.